Discover the amazing transformation of a poor single mom and the hidden billionaire candy vendor. Sarah rushed down Main Street, the familiar scent of fried food from the diner mingling with the cool air of early autumn. She had just finished a grueling shift, sweat still glistening on her brow. The clock was a relentless enemy, ticking away the minutes she couldn't afford to lose. After serving pancakes and strong coffee to hordes of hungry locals, she needed to get home, her two children waiting in a house increasingly permeated by silence. The warmth of family traditions seemed a world away. Where was that joyful chaos of laughter and shared stories? But those moments slipped further from her grasp each day her husband chose not to be a part of their lives. As she crossed the street, something caught her eye. A dusty candy shop, untouched by time, yet cloaked in a shroud of neglect. The paint was faded, the for sale sign showing its pain. Her heart raced as she stood before it, a bittersweet nostalgia tugging at her. Memories flooded back of her grandmother's inviting kitchen, where the air was rich with the aroma of homemade fudge and caramel swirled with love. Those days felt like a distant dream, and Sarah winced at the thought of her children not knowing the flavors of their heritage. This shop could give them a taste of their roots, could melt the icy distance that had crept in between them. But doubts surged like an ocean tide. She felt the harsh reality settle over her like a wet blanket. Bills piled high and savings dwindled to nearly nothing. Could she really turn this forgotten place into a sanctuary for her family? She hesitated, fear tightening in her chest. Would the townsfolk accept a single mother chasing an impossible dream? She pushed the door open, the creak echoing in the stillness. The shop's interior was a time capsule, old jars filled with tarnished sweets. As she explored, her heart raced with excitement and anguish, envisioning what could be, while her mind screamed in protest. "You don't belong here," a small voice whispered in the recesses of her mind, reminding her of the judgment she had faced before. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Awash in hesitation, Sarah paced the shop, questions swimming in her mind. What if this was just another reckless decision that would pull her deeper into financial ruin? The faces of her children flashed through her thoughts, innocent and unknowing, unaware of the hardship their mother wrestled with. She could see the impacts of her struggles etched on their faces, an urgency ignited by the realization that they might drift further from the warmth of their shared lineage. Just as she was set to leave, a scruffy old man, inconspicuous in a faded baseball cap, caught her eye. His gaze was intense but kind, as if he could read the tangled web of her worries. "Thinking of bringing this place back to life?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. His unexpected question sent a jolt through her. Who was he? Did he sense the monumental task ahead? As he spoke with surprising enthusiasm about confections in history, an odd sense of camaraderie swelled between them. Yet, looming in the background, shadows of doubt clawed at her resolve. Was the risk of pursuing this dream worth the potential for failure? Every moment pulled tighter, making the stakes feel impossibly high. Sarah stood frozen, trapped at the crossroads of fear and hope, where the taste of sugar and dreams clashed with the weight of her reality, and she knew she had to choose. Sarah's heart raced as the old man's question hung in the air, mingling with the faint scent of sugar and dust. It wasn't just a question, it was a challenge, stirring something deep within her that had long been dormant. Could she really envision herself taking the risk? "Maybe," Sarah replied,
her voice shaky yet tinged with a hint of hope. "But I don't know if I have what it takes." The old man chuckled softly, a knowing smile forming beneath his weathered face. "What is having what it takes, anyway? Isn't it just about trying? You can't seize opportunity from the sidelines, dear. Everyone who ever built something great started with a little spark of courage, didn't they?" His words echoed in the recesses of her mind, igniting something fragile yet flickering within. She considered her life, the endless cycle of struggle, the way she had been merely surviving rather than living. Would opening this shop take her on a path leading deeper into uncertainty? Or could it illuminate a route back to her family, back to joy? She took a step closer, the dusty floor creaking beneath her weight. What if this venture turned into a bridge, one connecting her past with a hopeful future? Determination flickered as she thought of her children, the moments when they forged cookies in the kitchen, laughter erupting in bursts as frosting smudged their small hands. If she could breathe life into the shop, could she not breathe life back to those shared moments? Yet, as ambitious visions danced in her mind, doubt whispered its poison. The town wouldn't accept her. They might not understand. Would they ridicule her for daring to put herself out there? She shook her head to dispel the spiraling thoughts. Fear and uncertainty would cloud her thoughts long enough. She needed clarity and a plan, or she would be back at the diner in no time, serving meals to customers who never saw beyond their own plates. "What's your name?" she suddenly asked the old man, wanting to ground herself in this conversation, a tether to the moment. "Name's Ernest," he replied, extending a hand. "Been sellin' candies for 40 years. Never made me a millionaire, but I became rich in other ways. You're looking at the world's most content candy vendor." Sarah laughed softly, taken aback. Content? How does one find contentment in something so uncertain? Harry paused, a glint in his eye. "It's about finding joy in the process, not just the destination. Open the shop. Just do it, even if you stumble along the way. You'll discover new facets of yourself, talents you never knew existed. Maybe you'll create that joyful chaos back at home, too." The prospect of immediate action thrilled her, creating a surge of urgency, but she fought to harness it properly. "But where would I even begin? Renovations? Supplies? Money?" "Start small. Bake a lot of what you know. Gather your kids. Take the time to teach them what you treasured about candy, your grandmother's recipes. Sell them out of your home if you have to, and see how the community responds." The idea washed over her like a warm embrace. It wasn't just about fulfilling a dream. It offered a way to engage with her children, to pull them into the heart of something meaningful. It was both terrifying and exciting. She could see her path, yet the obstacles loomed as large as ever. "I need to think," she murmured, edging toward the door but glancing back. "I want to know how to do this right." "Then think carefully, but don't take too long," he cautioned. "Time waits for no one, especially for dreams." Stepping out of the shop's dim interior, fresh resolve flickered within her. The chill autumn breeze greeted her, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and possibility. Yet questions lingered. Could she truly balance the demands of her children, her job, and this dream? As she walked home, her heart was a storm of ambition and anxiety, the old man's words reframing the dialogue within her. Would she choose to face the fear that had held her captive for so long, or remain in the shadows of doubt? The answer lay at her fingertips, waiting for a single decisive moment. But just as she reached the doorstep, her phone buzzed violently, a notification she couldn't ignore. She hesitated, peering into the unknown on the screen, uncertainty creeping back in. What news could demand her attention, important enough to shake her focus just as she was grappling with her ambitions? With a trembling hand, Sarah swiped to unlock her phone, her heartbeat racing as she read the notification. It was a text from her sister, a message that both thrilled and terrified her. Dad's in the hospital. Get here as soon as possible."
You can. In that moment, the swirl of ambition and the dream of opening the candy shop shattered like glass. The urgency of family eclipsed her aspirations, dragging her back to the harsh reality she thought she was escaping. She felt the weight of the world pressing down, reminding her that dreams didn't matter much in the shadow of a family crisis. As she rushed into the house, her mind ran wild with a mix of fear and resentment. Years spent juggling burdens at the diner, her father alone at home, and now this? The dread settled into her stomach like a lead weight. "Mom, what's wrong?" her youngest asked, wide-eyed as Sarah tried to smooth over her worry with a fleeting smile. "Nothing, honey, just family stuff." She put on her bravest face, even as a storm brewed within her. Guilt clawed at her, punctuating every frantic thought. Was she ever going to escape this cycle? Arriving at the hospital, she found her father in a small room, frail with age, still capable of a fierce spirit, but diminished by health complications. Sitting next to him, she took in the lines on his hands, etched with a lifetime of work, struggle, and sacrifice. "Hey, Dad," she ventured softly, squeezing his hand. He blinked up at her, a flicker of recognition lighting his eyes. "Sarah, always so busy," he murmured, his voice weaker than she remembered. "Don't worry about me. You've got your own life to think about." How could he say that? She wanted to shout at him, to take her worries away, to push all of her troubles aside. Yet his unwavering support somehow suffocated her freedom. If he could just recognize the path she longed to carve, the one that led back to happiness, the one Ernest had outlined for her, maybe then? "Dad, But the words stuck in her throat. Fear locked her in uncertainty, creating a barrier she couldn't seem to shatter. "I know you want to do something with your life, Sarah, but don't sacrifice what's most important. Family is everything." His gaze bore into her, so intense it felt like a challenge. She nodded, feeling the heat of emotion prick her eyes, battling between her responsibilities to her family and the flickering ambition that dared to breathe. Could she bring joy to those she loved without losing herself in the process? As the visit ended, she wandered the sterile hallways, the hospital smells mixing with echoes of laughter heard earlier in a nearby waiting room. Her mind reeled as she stumbled upon a small cafe, coffee brewing in the air, faint strains of joy echoing within. Turning her phone back on, Sarah hesitated before tapping on the image of the old candy shop appearing in her mind. She had chosen to leave behind her dreams for her family, but the thought of nurturing what had been buried inside her for so long sparked new flames of defiance. She sat down, heart racing. As Ernest's words echoed in her mind, could she find a balance? A way to honor her father's wish while rekindling the spirit she yearned to embrace. She pulled out a notebook, determined to document a new plan, not just a candy shop, but a vision stitched together with family, laughter, and resilience. And yet, in the back of her mind, a question loomed. What would her father think if he knew the depth of her dreams? Before she could answer herself, a figure caught her eye. An older woman with a sparkling smile, holding a box of confections, a living testament that joy could come in small, colorful packages. Sarah felt a jolt of recognition and inspiration. She reached for the notepad again, new ideas surging forth. She could transform family recipes into a legacy, have her children involved in every step. But would she have the courage to confront not only her doubts, but also the approval and expectations of those who loved her? In that moment, a new determination carved its path through her fear. She would have to confront the ideal of who she should be versus who she could become. Would she risk it all for the chance to be truly fulfilled? The weight of that decision pressed heavily on her heart. But as she left the cafe, she felt a flicker of possibility reignite. And just as that ember began to grow, her phone buzzed again, Another notification, drawing her attention back to the risks she had almost forgotten. Was it an invitation to embrace the unknown, or another reminder of the hurdles that lie ahead? As Sarah left the cafe, the buzzing of her phone urged her to choose. With trembling fingers, she hesitated before looking at the screen. A text from her sister updating her about their father's condition. It was a reminder of her current reality, a tug-of-war between her familial responsibilities and the stirrings of her ambitions. She felt the flicker of hope extinguished, swallowed whole by the weight of duty. Yet, in that moment of conflict, as she walked through the hospital's sterile halls, something shifted within her. What if her dreams didn't have to be sacrificed? What if the candy shop could not only fulfill her, but also weave together her family's history, traditions, and love into something tangible? She leaned against the wall, her mind racing. The sun streaming through the large waiting room windows cast warm light on the floor, illuminating not just the path before her, but also the ideas swirling in her mind. A family candy business. A revival of the joy that had built bonds and memories throughout her childhood. Images of her father's laughter flooded her thoughts. Memories of their shared moments in the kitchen. The smell of sugar filling the air as they created treats. Suddenly, determination gripped her heart. They could be more than just recipes. They could be a story to share, a legacy to pass down. But an unsettling question lingered. Could she truly bring this to life beside the responsibilities that weighed heavily on her? Deciding to act, Sarah took a deep breath and opened her notebook. Writing furiously, her hands flew across the page. She sketched ideas, drawn from her childhood, combined with the immediate family dynamics that lay in front of her. It was a blend of bold ambition and inherited love, creating candy with her kids that honored her past while shaping a future. Would they enjoy it as much as she did? Each word solidified her thoughts, transforming nebulous desires into concrete plans. Perhaps she could carve out time on weekends to experiment with family recipes, integrate her children into the process. They could be the next generation of candy makers. And, if she succeeded, her father would see this as a celebration of family rather than the abandonment of it. Then the pressure mounted. She envisioned confronting her father with this new venture, nervously proposing to involve him in the process. Would he approve, or would he regard it as another distraction from what truly mattered? Her heart thudded as she wrestled with conflicting emotions, fear of disappointing him against the exhilaration of following her passion. Suddenly, she noticed the woman from earlier with the box of confections again, this time chatting with a child. The joy radiating from them sparked something deeper within Sarah. A realization began to form. Their happiness didn't come from ignoring responsibilities, but rather from blending them together. Could she invite her father into this vision, using it as a bridge rather than a barrier? Before she could arrange her thoughts, her phone buzzed again, a notification that sent a shiver down her spine. It was an email from the local community center, advertising a small business incubator program launching soon. The timing felt cosmic, as if the universe was waiting for her to leap. Sarah's heart raced. This was her chance. This program could provide the guidance she needed to navigate the tangled web of family and ambition. However, another wave of doubt washed over her. Could she balance the demands of her father's health with pursuing this opportunity? The thought of stepping out of the familiar left her feeling both exhilarated and terrified. But as she sat there, a lingering question loomed larger than the others. What if this was the transformative experience she needed to redefine her purpose? Gathering her resolve, she turned her gaze to the joyful exchange between the woman and the child. At that moment, Sarah made a silent promise to herself. If she truly wanted to reclaim her dreams, she needed to be brave enough to act on them. Just then, her phone buzzed once more, pulling her from her thoughts. Glancing at the screen, Sarah felt her breath quicken. It was a message from Ernest, the mentor who had always believed in her potential. It read, "I want to talk about your plans. When can we meet?" With a mix of excitement and anxiety, Sarah realized this could be her turning point. Unexpectedly, the opportunity to confront her fears and ambitions was right within her grasp. As she left the hospital, resolutely clutching her notebook, Sarah felt the gears of her transformation begin to turn with momentum. The time had come to face not only her fears, but to embrace the possibility of what her life could become. The path ahead shimmered with potential, a blend of family, dreams, and newfound courage. But one question lingered, casting a shadow over her excitement. If she embraced this chance, what sacrifices would she have to make along the way? The meeting with Ernest felt like the first step onto a tightrope stretched across the unknown. As Sarah entered the small coffee shop chosen for their rendezvous, she could feel her pulse quickening, a mixture of anticipation and trepidation coursing through her veins. The cafe was familiar yet distant, a world she had inhabited before the responsibilities of life had edged out her personal aspirations. Sitting down at a table in the corner, she glanced at her notebook, its pages filled with ideas, potential recipes, sketches of a storefront, vague notions of branding woven together with intricate dreams of legacy. But there was an unsettling truth behind her creativity. How much of the fancy would hold up in reality? She took a deep breath, reminding herself of the burning desire behind each scribble. When Ernest arrived, a welcoming smile spread across his face, grounding her flurry of chaotic thoughts. "It's good to see you, Sarah," he said, settling into the chair opposite her. The warmth in his voice sparked a flicker of the confidence she had once possessed. "Thanks for meeting with me," she replied, almost shyly. Unpacking her ideas felt monumental, like revealing delicate glasswork to someone who could either admire or shadow it. Ernest leaned closer, his interest piqued. "So, tell me what you've been up to." Sarah's heart raced as she laid out the framework of her vision, sharing her childhood memories of candy making alongside family traditions. Each word ignited her passion, invigorating the air between them. She could see Ernest's eyes alight with encouragement. The longer she talked, the more her enthusiasm swelled, her initial hesitance dissipating. "That's beautiful," he said, his voice steadying her turbulent thoughts. "You have a unique narrative to share, something personal that can resonate with your audience." But, he paused, causing a shiver of anxiety to rattle her composure. "What are your concrete next steps?" The question pierced through her exhilaration. She had dreamed vividly, but had not yet solidified practicality. "Well, I just saw the incubator program coming up. I thought, definitely," he interjected, nodding thoughtfully. "But you need to outline your business plan and target market. What's your differentiator? How will you balance this with your family commitments?" In that moment, the comforting notion of dreams collided violently with stark reality. How would she prioritize her father's needs while crafting this dream? She realized it was time to confront the paradox directly. "I want to involve my kids," she confessed, aware of the complicated dimensions that added layers to her dream. "But I'm terrified of failing them, or my father in the process." Ernest's brow furrowed. "It sounds like you're torn between your responsibilities and your aspirations." "Yes," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "What if pursuing this causes distress? What if my father thinks I'm neglecting him?" "That's a genuine fear," he acknowledged, his expression empathetic. "But you have a choice. Sharing this joy of candy making with your children could be a healing experience for your family. Perhaps your father could even be a part of it." Each suggestion rattled loose a piece of her uncertainty. Here lay the potential for her ambitions to interlace with her family life. It was not merely about balance, but rather a merging of her loyalties. "I just want him to be proud," she said, her voice trembling with vulnerability. Ernest nodded, a thoughtful look crossing his face. "Then ask him. Bring him into your creative process, instead of viewing it as a diversion. Show him how it honors his legacy." Taking a deep breath, a stronger resolve pulsed through Sarah. Ernest's insights began to light a path through her doubts. They delved deeper into logistics, steps she could take to materialize her ideas into a solid proposition, with strategies for balancing her dual roles. As they wrapped up, she felt liberated.
The weight of her vision was surging with newfound clarity. Yet, uncertainty persisted in the back of her mind. Could she really manage the demands of family, her father's health, and her dreams alongside each other? Just as she had contemplated the summit of insight, her phone buzzed, another message from her sister. Sarah's heart sank momentarily. Was it more dire news? But she steadied herself, remembering the promise she made to face what lay ahead. Reading the screen, her throat constricted. "Dad needs the surgery next week." The text echoed in her mind, intertwining with the resolve she had just discovered. She was at a precipice. The journey toward her candy shop could serve as a legacy, but now she had to confront the reality of stepping into it as a balancing act between anxieties and ambition. As she exited the cafe, notebook in hand, Sarah felt the ground beneath her quiver. This was her moment. Not the end of something, but the start of a complicated dance between hope, responsibility, and the drive to create. What path would she forge, and what revelations would come from this new pressure? The stakes had risen, and now she had to decide. Could she truly navigate this labyrinth while crafting the candy shop she had envisioned? Or was the weight of duty too heavy to bear? Each step back to her car felt heavier than the last. The weight of uncertainty heaved in her chest, a pounding reminder of the dual roles that lay ahead. It was as if the air thickened around her, infused with the complexities of family, expectation, and aspiration. How had she arrived at this junction where passion and duty collided so violently? Settling into the driver's seat, she gripped the steering wheel tightly. Her father needed surgery, and the thought churned in her mind like a tempest. While she had just started to embrace the invigorating rush of possibly launching her candy business, that wave of possibility crashed against an undercurrent of fear. What if he didn't recover? What if her dreams fell apart in the wake of her family obligations? The ringing of her phone snapped her out of her spiral. It was her sister again, calling instead of texting. She hesitated, then answered. "Hey, Sarah." Her sister's voice was frantic. "Did you see the message? Are you okay? You know he's scared, right?" "I just got off the phone with him," Sarah said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm sure he'll be fine, but—" Her throat went dry, the words choked in her. What if I pursued this dream and it ends up taking me away from him when he needs me most? Maybe it wouldn't have to. Her sister's voice held a note of insistence. What if you incorporate him into this? You've always spoken of his recipes. You know the root of his creation was family. Involving him could be a comfort. A flicker of inspiration sparked in Sarah's mind. The seed of an idea took root, growing with the sunlight of possibility. Maybe he could help me. We could create together. It might even help him. The concept took on a life of its own, swirling with visions of their shared laughter in the kitchen, of memories resurrected through confectionery wonder. Taking the plunge into this venture might honor him in ways she hadn't considered. Exactly! And between you and me, who wouldn't want a piece of Grandpa's secret candy recipe? The excitement in her sister's voice was infectious. It can be a project that strengthens your bond and creates a lasting legacy. As she pulled out onto the road, Sarah felt a new resolve begin to form around her anxiety. Her father's health loomed large, yes, but with each passing mile, she began to see her path clearer. What if she built something not just for herself, but for him? The motivations of family and personal ambition didn't have to exist in opposition, but could instead converge, creating something greater. Thinking through this revelation led her to formulate a strategic plan. She could draft the business proposal with Ernest's feedback in mind, and at the same time begin preliminary discussions with her father about participating in the vision behind her candy shop. Perhaps the repair of their relationship would blend with the building of her dreams. Once home, Sarah gathered her children, and instead of immersing herself solely in their evening routines, she broached the subject. "What do you think about starting a family project? Something we can all do together, and it involves candy." Their eyes lit up, the idea igniting their imaginations. "What kind of candy, Mom? one of them asked enthusiastically. Candy like from your grandfather's old secret recipes, she offered, her heart racing with the implication of the thought. As ideas flowed among them, she felt spirits rise. They began suggesting their favorites, a hallowed ground of nostalgia mixed with youthful creativity. It was then that an alarming thought set itself deep within her. Could her dream blossom not just as a business, but as a family narrative? This project could intertwine their diverse threads into an intricately woven tapestry, where each piece had a place. That night, she sat down with her notebook again, this time with clarity shimmering through her doubts. The structure of her business took shape, alongside her family's involvement. But lurking beneath her newfound resolve was a darker realization. The uncertainty of her father's health would always be a specter, hovering ominously as she pursued her ambitions. Yet, facing that fear head-on felt liberating, as if she were taking ownership of her fate. The transformative project they were about to embark upon could potentially serve as a lifeline, stitching together not only her entrepreneurial aspirations, but also mending family lines torn by time and circumstances. As Sarah sat in her kitchen, outlining plans for a family candy-making tradition and flipping through old photo albums for inspiration, she felt the stirrings of hope. This was not merely about starting a business. It was about crafting memories, reclaiming her family's legacy, and stepping forward into a future buoyed by love. But the clock was ticking. With her father's surgery looming and the weight of the project pressing down like ever-thickening fog, could she solidify her ambitions before time slipped through her fingers? The ticking of the clock echoed through the room, a reminder that decisions loomed closer. She had to finalize her path forward, facing the crossroads of responsibility and ambition once more, because time was running out and clarity would demand swift action. What choices would she make in this race against uncertainty, and would they lead her to clarity or chaos? With the morning sun peeking through the window, Sarah woke up with a sense of urgency coursing through her veins. The clock flashed glaring numbers that seemed to mock her with the relentless ticking. Each passing moment whispered reminders of time slipping away. Today was pivotal. Her father's surgery was scheduled for the next day, and she needed to finalize her plans. As she prepared breakfast for her children, her mind raced through a mental checklist, the brewing coffee mingling with her determination. The prospect of bringing her father into the candy business ignited a mix of hope and fear inside her. She had a vision, but could she translate it into reality without overwhelming everyone, especially herself? Duncan, her youngest, tugged at her shirt, pulling her out of her thoughts. "Mom, what's for breakfast?" asked, his eyes wide with innocence. "Just a little something special to kickstart our family project," she replied, the thrill of the endeavor momentarily distracting her from the anxiety of her father's health. While the children ate, she fetched her notebook. Each page became a canvas for her ideas, sketches, and dreams. A name for the business gushed to the forefront: Heritage Candies, a tribute not just to her family's past, but a beacon for their future. She drafted a rough outline of her business model, noting how her father's knowledge could dovetail perfectly with the spirit of modern consumerism. Throughout the day, Sarah spoke with her sister about the logistics of handling the business while supporting their father. Together, they discussed ingredient sourcing and marketing strategies. Her sister's excitement was palpable as they fleshed out ideas, drawing concepts from childhood memories that warmed her heart and reminded her why this mattered. "Let's host a tasting party, Sarah," her sister proposed. "Gather the family, create some of Grandpa's recipes, and get feedback from everyone. It'll bring us closer and help you understand what works." The idea sparked a renewed fire in Sarah. A tasting party would not only involve her father in a meaningful way, but it would also establish a communal bond amongst the family, a theme she wanted to promote through her business. "Let's do it," Sarah agreed, her voice steady with newfound confidence. "It will be our first step." As evening cast a soft glow over their home, she called her father, wanting to discuss the idea. "Dad, how about we have a family gathering where we test some of your old recipes?" "Really? You'd want me to help?" His surprise was easily detectable through the line, as if the weight of her request redefined their relationship dynamic. "Absolutely. You're not just my dad, you're a vital part of this business," she reassured him, a warmth blooming in her chest. The conversation opened an unexpected door, the sight of their relationship shifting from mere expectation to collaboration. They exchanged ideas, and she found herself visualizing the kitchen filled with rich scents, laughter, and the warmth of togetherness. It was more than business, it was healing. When the call ended, however, her heart sank back into a quagmire of anxiety. Amid all the enthusiasm, the surgery loomed like a shadow. What if they worked together, only for it to be derailed by unforeseen circumstances? The fear settled at the pit of her stomach, forcing her to confront the risks she was taking, not just for herself, but for the family too. That night, Sarah lay in bed, grappling with her rising determination and the looming cloud of uncertainty. Did she possess the strength to navigate this dual track of family obligation and business ambition? Could she truly bear the weight of both without succumbing to chaos? As she drifted into slumber, the question hardened in her mind. Would this endeavor be the bridge that mended family ties, or a folly that could ultimately mar her dreams? Time pressed on relentlessly, and with the dawn breaking tomorrow, Sarah knew her choices could dictate the course of more than just her business. They could shape the very fabric of her family. With a rush of adrenaline, she made a silent pledge to herself. She would find clarity amid chaos. She would face her fears head-on, and she would honor her family legacy. All she had to do now was take the next step and confront the ever-approaching surgery day. The moment of truth awaited. The morning arrived much like the last, with the sun inching through the curtains while Sarah's mind spun with anticipation. Today was crucial. Today her father underwent surgery, and she was determined to stand strong both for him and for herself. As she prepared her breakfast routine, the aroma of bacon sizzling clashed with her anxious thoughts. Could this day mark the beginning of a new chapter, not just in her father's life, but also in her own? Her children were still asleep, allowing her a rare moment of solitude. She sipped her coffee slowly, trying to temper the whirlwind inside her. Clarity, she thought. She needed clarity to navigate the chaos awaiting her. The idea of heritage candies lingered at the forefront of her mind, yet it felt heavier than the morning fog. Could she truly carry the weight of this business concept while preparing for the uncertainty that lay ahead? With determination strumming through her, Sarah took the first step and reached for her notebook again. She flipped through the pages filled with ideas and diagrams. They now resembled promises rather than just plans. Each stroke of the pen felt like a commitment to herself, a declaration that she could do this. But hidden among her aspirations was a worry that gnawed at her consciousness. If her father's surgery didn't go well, what would happen to the dreams they were beginning to build together? The taste of success was bittersweet, tinged with fear. As her children stirred and wandered into the kitchen, Sarah shifted her focus. A breakfast of pancakes wasn't just a meal. It was an opportunity to foster warmth and connection. Each syrup-covered stack became a part of her mission to bring family together. The light chatter of her kids faded as her thoughts wandered to her father. She immersed herself in the routine, the flipping and pouring reminiscent of the childhood gatherings they once had, filled with laughter and spirited stories. "Mom, are you okay?" Duncan's innocent question jolted her back to reality. His brows were furrowed, concern etched across his little face. "Just thinking about the future," she replied softly, knowing that he couldn't grasp the weight of her thoughts. Yet, in a way, he was her anchor. His simplicity brought her back to what really mattered. After breakfast, she busied herself with final preparations. A call with her sister had reassured her that they had a plan. The tasting party was in progress, a step towards cementing their family legacy.
Still, anxiety bubbled beneath her calm exterior. What if her father couldn't participate? What if fear overrode his desire to engage? This nagging uncertainty tightened around her heart as she set up her phone reminders for updates throughout the day. As she paced the kitchen, a surge of frustration broke the surface. She needed to be proactive, not just passive. This was more than a business venture. It was a chance to redefine the family dynamic, a way to shape her destiny, to be more than a mother. She wanted to be a person of purpose. She grabbed her phone and sent a quick message to her sister. "Let's create a follow-up checklist. We need this to remain streamlined. I need to feel in control of something right now." The response was immediate, her sister's enthusiastic reply lighting a flicker of hope in Sarah's chest. Together, they could navigate through uncertainty and evolve. Yet the idea of the impending surgery gnawed persistently. It demanded her attention. The moment arrived when she needed to confront her anxieties head-on. In the waiting room, surrounded by sterile walls and sterile faces, Sarah sank back in her chair, legs trembling. Between heartbeat and breath, she resolved to channel her fears into focus. She couldn't let dread eclipse her dreams. Her legacy lay not just in the candy business, but in the transformative power of family. Tracing her fingers along her father's hand, she felt the pulse of their shared life flowing through her. Tonight, after surgery, when she fell into a restless sleep, she would allow herself to dream, not just of sugary delights, but of the myriad possibilities that lay ahead. What were the true depths of her father's legacy, and how might they shape her future? More importantly, could this venture open doors to a strength she had yet to discover within herself? With anxious excitement, Sarah tightened her resolve. The next steps awaited, and she was ready to take them, no matter how daunting they felt. The sterile scent of disinfectant filled the air, mingling with the faint hum of fluorescent lights overhead. Sarah shifted in her seat, acutely aware of the ticking clock on the wall. Each second weighed heavy as she counted down the moments until she would hear news about her father. With her heart racing and her mind swirling, she closed her eyes, momentarily surrendering to the stillness around her. In this disquieting bubble, clarity began to break through the clouds of her anxiety. Her past flickered through her mind like a slideshow, a series of choices and chances, all leading her to this pivotal moment. Was she merely a caretaker, or was she capable of far more? The question loomed large as she parsed through the tangled thoughts about her father, her children, and the business concept that had been looming just out of reach. Thoughts of heritage candies resurfaced forcefully. Each aspect echoed the essence of family connection, a tribute to her father's legacy. What if this venture became not just a business, but a way to transform their lives into something meaningful? What if overcoming her fears could not only honor her father, but also serve as a beacon for her children? Suddenly, the world around her shifted. The waiting room felt both constraining and liberating. The realization was electric. She held the power to reshape her narrative. As she opened her eyes and surveyed her surroundings, Sarah spotted fellow family members waiting on their loved ones. Their quiet expressions mirrored her own tension, yet she perceived an unspoken resilience among them. Perhaps they too understood the intricate weave of love and uncertainty that defined family ties. Determined to harness this newfound clarity, Sarah took out her notebook. The familiar feel of the pages beneath her fingertips acted as a talisman against the chaos of her thoughts. Each detailed note morphed into a potential path forward, a marketing strategy here, a recipe idea there. Suddenly, the anxiety that had obscured her vision transformed into exhilarating possibilities. A quiet strength began to flood her. It was time to schedule meetings with local vendors, research candy trends, and reach out to mentors who could guide her through this uncharted territory. Fear, for too long, had acted as a paralyzing force, but now she felt a shift. Connections formed a web of potential that could support her ambitions, transforming fear into a foundation for success. Sarah! The sound of her name startled her back into the present.
It was her sister, Rebecca, with her face etched in worry. Without thinking, Sarah instinctively rose to embrace her sister, grounding herself in familial support. "Any news?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Not yet, but they're optimistic," Rebecca replied, her own anxiety simmering just below the surface. This moment struck Sarah hard. For the first time, she truly understood the gravity of what it meant to support one another. She held tightly to her sister, realizing that their ongoing dialogue about the candy business wasn't just about selling. It was an opportunity to support each other's growth and confront their fears head-on. As their conversation turned to the plans for the candy venture, the room's weight seemed to lift. With each exchanged idea, they built a framework that included not only their familial legacies, but also their individual aspirations. Could they create something that honored their father's spirit, channeling his love into sweet creations that would bring joy to others? That evening, once updates from the surgeon finally came, and her father was praised for his strength, Sarah felt a profound sense of relief. Yet, beneath that relief was a simmering anticipation. The surgery might have paved the way for a new chapter in her father's life, but it simultaneously widened the horizon for her own evolution. Gravity pulled her now as she settled into bed, the shadows of the day swirling in her mind. There was work to do, plans to finalize, research to conduct it, a business. But more importantly, there was the uncharted territory of personal strength waiting to be discovered. With this new vigor, she vowed to approach her father's recovery as an opportunity, a way to grow into the woman she aspired to be. Her phone buzzing with reminders of upcoming meetings pulled her back into the present. As she quieted her racing thoughts, a new realization dawned upon her. The next hurdle awaited. What kind of challenges would arise as she ventured into this world of candy, family, and personal growth? The seeds of doubt still lurked, but she was prepared to tackle them head-on. Tomorrow would be a test, not just of her father's resilience, but her own. And so, she fell asleep with both excitement and trepidation coursing through her veins, aware that the real transformation was just beginning. The morning light streamed through the kitchen window, illuminating Sarah's determination. Today marked a real turning point. Her father was recovering well, and now she had the golden opportunity to deepen her connection with him and her children through the launch of heritage candies. As she prepared breakfast, the aroma of pancakes filled the air, but her mind was alive with thoughts of sweetness beyond the morning meal. As her kids entered the kitchen with sleepy eyes, she could feel a spark within her. "Today, we'll be trying out some special family recipes. Are you ready to become candy makers?" she asked, her heart racing at the thought of engaging them in this venture. Their eyes lit up with excitement, reminding her that her dreams weren't just her own. They were woven into the fabric of their shared experiences. Duncan, her youngest, squealed, "Yes, can we make the chocolate fudge?" His enthusiasm was infectious, and Sarah's heart swelled with pride at the thought of creating traditions together. It wasn't just about candy, it was about family. With her children at her side, Sarah gathered the ingredients and old family recipes that had long been tucked away in the cupboards. There was an unspoken bond forming, a legacy that transcended mere sweets. Each scoop of sugar felt like a step toward healing the rifts and fears that had held her back for too long. The kitchen transformed into a bustling space of laughter, flour-covered hands, and budding imaginations. As they stirred and mixed, anecdotes of their grandfather's candy-making tales filled the air. Her father's legacy would not just be remembered, it would be revived in a way that brought warmth back into their lives. It was a beautiful realization. Building a business could be a way to heal her family, to reconnect through shared endeavors, crafting memories just like those she cherished from her childhood. Later in the day, Sarah gathered her children and sat down to discuss the tasting party. They would invite family and friends, a gathering designed to embrace their collective past while embracing their evolving future. This wasn't solely about selling candy, it was about creating a community of support. Gathering those who loved and cared for them around a shared experience of sweetness and togetherness. The days turned into evenings filled with recipe testing, phone calls to local vendors, and coordinating logistics. Sarah felt focused. She was moving forward, fueled by her newfound purpose. She remembered Ernest's advice about finding joy in the journey, and this joy began to blossom within her. Her confidence grew as she shared her ideas with local business owners who welcomed her with open arms and offered their guidance. As the tasting party approached, anticipation hung thick in the air. Amidst preparation, Sarah's thoughts often drifted back to her father in the hospital, and she realized how critical it was to involve him in this endeavor. She picked up the phone and called him, excitedly sharing her plans. "Dad, we're creating a legacy together. You're the heart of this family, and I want you to be part of every step," she declared with a conviction that shocked even her. He responded, a blend of surprise and affection coloring his voice. "You've always had the spirit of a creator, Sarah. Let's make those fudge recipes come alive together." The day of the tasting party arrived, and it was blossoming with promise. Family and friends filled the house. Laughter mingled with the scent of melting chocolate as they brought forth the fruits of their labor, an array of confections born from recipes rooted in their lineage. The table, adorned with vibrant candies and the warmth of family, made it clear that this wasn't just a celebration of sweets, but a triumph of love and connection. As she watched her children serve their creations, pride swept over her. They were augmenting their family history. This gathering acted as a revelation. It was a testament that dreams could blend seamlessly with responsibilities. Every taste shared sparked joy, allowing for conversations that healed wounds overlooked too long. As the evening faded into night, Sarah faced her father, who had a twinkle in his eye as he tasted the fudge. This is what I wanted for you, a way to remember and to forge forward," he declared, mirroring her own sentiments. Tears welled in her eyes. "Thank you for being part of this journey, Dad." It was emblematic, a moment of treasure where generations intertwined. Her journey had transformed her. From a hesitant mother weighed down by fear, she had become a confident woman, buoyed by purpose and surrounded by family. Sarah had turned a humble candy-making dream into a stronghold of legacy and love. The journey wasn't merely a professional conquest. It had reshaped her identity, melding her aspirations into the fabric of familial ties that defined her. As she paused to reflect on the path ahead, a wave of unparalleled satisfaction washed over her. She had not only revived her dreams, but had woven them back into the strength of her family. With a heart full of gratitude and hope, Sarah stepped confidently into her future. Challenges that lay ahead. Now was the moment to embrace the next chapter boldly. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share.